Hello and welcome back to the Local Government People's Program. This is Adam Spagnolo and I'm very pleased that you're with us watching this or listening to this particular program. It's a program that's been going on for about 6 months and it's going very well. We get a lot of inquiries from people. We've actually resolved a few issues for some people. There are still a couple of issues that we need to get to the bottom of. We're just waiting for some correspondence to come back. Once we get the correspondence, we'll be able to deal with those as well. Jack, well, your platform sounds very interesting. I'm sure that the people of Hamersley are going to be very fortunate, and I say that quite respectfully, to have a candidate of your calibre. You have a commerce background, you have a legal background, you also have a business background in IT, and they are very good credentials, certainly in today's market as far as I'm concerned.
Thanks, Adam. And similarly, you have an incredible background in local government, serving as mayor and councillor for many years. And it's going to be very important that you're sitting at the table with me when these elections complete.
Thank you, Jack.
Adam, would you like to spend some time telling the voters about your platform?
Certainly. Thank you for the opportunity as well, Jack. Well, as Jack has pointed out, I've been Mayor of the City of Stirling before. I was actually on the council from 1984 through to 2004. I spent 20 years as a municipal councillor with the City of Stirling. I also spent 3 terms as Mayor, and I was very humbled, very privileged and very honoured to not only have served as a councillor for that period of time, but also as Mayor of the City. I never thought I'd ever want to go back to the City of Stirling after having served for that time. But you know what, Jack, in recent years, I've been concerned about the leadership, I've been concerned about the culture of the City of Stirling, and I believe that unless people like yourself and myself are heard on behalf of the community, that culture and that leadership is just going to stay on there and the people are going to continue to be upset. One of the things that concerns me as well is the unfair rating system that we have in place at the moment. Like yourself, I'm actually pushing for a 3-year rate freeze. In other words, no increase in your rates for the next 3 years. The reason for that, Jack, is that property values over the last 3 or 4 years have actually gone down about 25%. Rates in the last 3 or 4 years have actually been going in that direction. Now, what we need to do is understand that the rates on a property are actually calculated every year by the rental value of a property. Now, if your rental value of your property is going down, and let's face it, it has about 25%, that should be taken into account in your rates. It's not happening. What I would like to see done is the rates frozen for 3 years to allow the property values and the rental values to adjust over the next 3 years. I think that's a fairer way of doing things. Times are tough out there, and I believe that people need to be given this time so that the market can adjust, both from a rental point of view, that's a rental value point of view, and also the value of the actual property. So my main issue is a 3-year rate freeze, which I believe is important at the moment. I'm also looking at the domestic household rubbish charge. Jack, do you realise that this goes up every year? I think this year it went up about 7%. Now that's huge. It's a great chunk out of your rate bill that you have to pay. And I believe that that needs to be frozen for 3 years as well. When you look at what's happening with the domestic household rubbish, when you look at what's happening with rubbish as a whole, it's a holistic approach that needs to be taken here with rates and also the domestic household rubbish arrangement. The other thing that I'm actually looking at, Jack, is the Main Street upgrade. Now this is a project that's been discussed on and off. It's been going for 3 years. There's a great committee called the Main Street Co-op Committee, a very competent committee, a very hard-working committee. They've put a lot into this, but I understand that they're frustrated, like many other people. There's very little happening. Now, what also annoys me about Main Street, and without digressing too much, is if you have a look at Main Street at the moment, there's a lot of ad hoc upgrades going on. There is no overall plan for Main Street. Now, how can you go and do all these little amendments, shift trees, shift bus bays, close off Lawley Street, all these things without an overall plan?
So you're saying that we have to look at the streetscape plan for
what I'm saying is, upon election, one of my first tasks will be to appoint an engineer an urban engineer who can actually develop an overall plan from Cape Street all the way down to El Dorado Street,
Right.
where everything is taken into account, even that notorious intersection on the corner of Hutton and Main Street, where recently there have been a couple of very serious accidents.
Yes, it's been in the news recently.
It
as
has
well.
indeed.
Yeah.
And when you've got a stretch of road from Cape Street to El Dorado Street, where there is a proposal to upgrade the street, you don't go and start doing all this ad hoc stuff. What you do is you get on with the job and you actually get the plan, because there's no plan, Jack. There's
Right.
only a mural, an artist's impression,
Right.
and $40,000,
Right.
which nobody's really sure what needs to be done with it. I can find some use for that money. Let's put it towards getting the urban engineer to actually develop a plan, so
Right.
we all know where we're going. At the moment, we're going all over the place because there's been very little guidance from the City of Stirling in this regard. So Main Street, Osborne Park upgrade from Cape Street to El Dorado Street is another one of my major policies. As you've also said, Jack, faster approvals. There's far too much red tape. It takes too long to get an approval. Jack, I'm a professional local government building surveyor or building inspector. What I've got to say to you is that, do you know how long it takes to actually process, say, a carport or an al fresco or just a pergola? Do you know how long it takes to process?
It's a long time presently, isn't it?
Okay, the City of Stirling, 3 months sometimes.
right, yeah.
It takes 45 minutes for a building surveyor to actually process that.
Yeah.
It doesn't take long, and people are waiting a long time. Okay, if it's a shopping centre, you expect to wait 3 or 4 months, but not for a pergola or an al fresco. So, you know, I'm looking at faster approvals to fast-track development applications and building permits, and of course, reduce these long waits and the red tape. The other major item that I have on my radar, Jack, is Stevenson Avenue. Now, for those of you that are not sure where Stevenson Avenue is, if you know Alan Stirling Boulevard, that's the main road, if you like, that runs alongside the Innaloo Shopping Centre. Alan Stirling Boulevard is a nightmare in terms of its traffic. You go there, take the newspaper with you and just sit in the car in the traffic and just wait.
I hope you're not doing that.
I'm not doing that, nor am I suggesting that you do that, but you know, I was just being a little facetious. But you know, that was just to give you an idea of the amount of time that it would take you to get from the Innaloo Shopping Centre up to Cedric Street. It's just bedlam, it really is. So where Alan Stirling Boulevard is, just a little to the east of that, behind IKEA, is where Stevenson Avenue is going to go. Now, Stevenson Avenue already exists in part. It exists from John Sanders Drive through to Scarborough Beach Road. There's a little link road there where the hire guys are. You know where the hire guys are?
I do, yes.
Okay. Now, in around about 1993, 94, when I was mayor of the city, I had the pleasure of actually opening that link road between John Sanders Drive and Scarborough Beach Road. In fact, I had the pleasure of opening that road with the Commissioner for Main Roads at the time, who was Ken Michael, who later on became to be the Governor of Western Australia. But we opened that road, and the deal was that within 5 years...
And it's 20 years later now.
Yep, there we go. Within 5 years, the next leg from Scarborough Beach Road, going behind IKEA, right up to Cedric Street, connecting to the freeway with a north and a south interchange, would proceed.
Yeah.
Money's been on and off the budget for the last 20 years. It's on again now, Jack.
I understand that.
There is $65 million on the budget right now, and I want to make sure that this time it's not put off, that we put it there and get this road constructed, because it's very important. Can you imagine, Jack, what it would do to the local traffic? You put this extension from Scarborough Beach Road, don't forget it starts at John Sanders,
Yep.
from Scarborough Beach Road, behind IKEA, you go right up to Cedric Street, connect to the freeway with the north and the south interchange. Can you imagine what it would do to the traffic on Alan Stirling Boulevard, on Scarborough Beach Road,
Yes.
on Cedric Street,
Yes.
on Hutton Street, even on Main Street?
Sure.
So this road is vital. And when you consider, Jack, that what they're proposing is to virtually transcribe the CBD from Perth right up to where the city offices are.
That's
On
correct.
the north side.
Stirling City Centre program.
That's the one. Now, they're talking about the Stirling City Centre, yet in talking about the Stirling City Centre, it lacks infrastructure. How can you proceed with something like that when you haven't got this highway to take away a lot of this traffic off the secondary roads?
It takes foresight, Adam, and that's exactly what you're proposing.
Exactly. Like yourself, Jack, I'm also looking at supporting the notion of the mayor being elected by the people. The City of Stirling is probably the only metropolitan local government authority that still elects its mayor in the old antiquated way of the mayor being elected by the councillors. The mayor of the City of Stirling, ladies and gentlemen, should be elected by you, me and everybody else. The City of Stirling is a large establishment. It covers 100 square kilometres. It has an annual budget of around $250 million. And not only that, it has a population of well over 200,000 people. When we're talking those sort of numbers, Jack, that's when the mayor of the city needs to be elected by the people. And then I believe too, no disrespect to the incumbent or anybody else, I believe you get a better quality of person in that particular position as well. You get a person that has a good understanding of commerce, you have a good person that understands basically the intent of what local government is all about.
Couldn't agree more, Adam.
Yeah, we talked about question time earlier and the way people are getting roughed up at question time, being shut down, microphones being closed off, all this sort of thing. In other words, disrespect. I don't like that, Jack, and I want to change that. In fact, what I'm proposing in my policy is that we extend question time from 15 minutes to say 30 minutes. Now, under the current system, there is provision for one of the councillors to move that question time be extended. Now, that does happen from time to time, but not as often as what it should, because you're right. They want to get in there, get on with the business and go home.
Now, the agendas are large, there's no question about it.
Yeah.
But there's other alternatives.
There are other alternatives. Maybe they might need an additional council meeting. I don't know.
Maybe.
But the fact of the matter is that if people are coming there to be heard, they need to be heard. Don't shut them down or don't restrict them. I'm also very much into junior and senior sport. Junior and senior sport, Jack, is very important to me. These guys are our future champions. They are our future athletes. We need to look after them. A lot of the clubs out there are struggling. A lot of the clubs out there are turning to their membership for help and support. And a lot of them are complaining that the City of Stirling is not assisting them.
Yes.
Now, I want to immediately review the council club funding policies with a view to increase funding to a lot of our clubs.
Well, one of the things on that issue, Adam, that is that I noticed that if we could come up with a consistent policy for the clubs, then we wouldn't have a situation with every time there's an election, clubs making a decision that they're going to align themselves with certain candidates, and think that they're going to get a better deal. So I think one of the things we do need to look at, I agree with you, that is we have to look at how clubs are receiving benefits.
And we've already got a deposit, 2 Mercs for sale,
That's right.
2 Mercedes-Benzes for sale, so that we can use those proceeds towards our local sporting groups. Junior and seniors who need the local council's support.
That's right.
To go ahead and...
it shouldn't become political.
No, absolutely not. And I agree with you too, Jack. It is sad and very unfortunate that 1 or 2 of the clubs have decided to side with a couple of the candidates who have obviously led them to believe that they can change the world for them. Well, you know, I don't want to be disrespectful here, Jack, but at least one of those candidates has been there 4 years and has had the opportunity, as far as I'm aware, to deal with this particular club before.
I think it's a Hammersley.
I think it is a Hammersley ward councillor.
Why
has he not acted before? I mean,
right.
let's not play games here, guys. Yeah. You know, the fact of the matter is that no single person can make that sort of decision. A decision like that is a policy decision. A policy decision is not made by one councillor, it's made by the council. So let's get that right. Let's not hoodwink people in this regard. Jack, the other thing that concerns me immensely is security. You know, when the crime rate is high, right, what happens is the surveillance is high. When the crime rate drops, the surveillance drops. When these guys come back after they've knocked off a few houses and pinched a few cars, the surveillance starts to come back again.
Right.
I don't like that. It should not be like that.
Right.
People pay $30 a year in their rates for security.
That's right.
I understand that $30 is for 100% coverage. Some areas are getting 100% coverage.
Right.
Other areas are not. And the deal is that, as I say, the surveillance drops because the crime has dropped. But what happens is the surveillance then goes elsewhere. And guess what? These guys start to pick up again.
Yeah.
So what's the point? We're just wasting
That's
our time.
right.
Let's keep the surveillance there 100% all the time.
And look, there's going to be room in our budget if we can reduce the amount of legal fees that are being used to enforce fines against ratepayers, we can use that to pay additional security to protect the ratepayers.
Yeah. I can tell you one thing, we won't be paying $3 million in the next 12 months if you and I are on council.
That's right.
To fight ratepayers and take them to court and prosecute them.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be an easier process.
Reallocation of those funds to protect the people.
Absolutely. Jack, so security patrols I'm very much into. Increasing crime in our streets needs to be curbed, and there's only one way to do that, and that is by increasing the surveillance. Or not necessarily increasing it as such, but actually giving the people what they're paying for. And quite frankly, I don't believe that we're doing that at this present time. The other thing I'm looking for is a fairer deal for the Osborne ward. You know, Jack, the Osborne ward of the City of Stirling, with its industrial component, its commercial component and its residential component, pays the most rates in the City of Stirling. It pays a lot of rates, and the bag is about that big of what we actually pay in, and what we get back in the area is that much.
Sounds like Western Australia and the GST.
It does, yeah. But you see a little bit more during election time, like you drive around, there's a few things happening. But you know, why haven't they been happening earlier? Yeah. Look, the main point there is that we're paying a lot more, we're not getting very much. I want to get a better deal for the Osborne ward. And just finally, Jack, in answer to your question, why should people support Adam Spagnolo for this particular election in the Osborne ward of the City of Stirling? One of the concerns that I've had for quite some time is the emergency services levy. Now, I was very privileged and honoured, quite frankly, to have had the President of the West Australian Local Government Association in this very studio discussing this, because I know that Lynn Craigie is very passionate about this emergency services levy. She's not against it. What she is concerned about is that there's a lot of money that actually goes into this from all of the local government authorities. Don't forget, this is a state charge. It is not a local government charge. The local governments merely collect the money on behalf of the state government. So the position is that this is not accounted for. All this money is paid in, but it's not accounted for. And what the West Australian Local Government Association, myself, yourself and other people that are concerned about the accountability of this are all about is wanting to know where this money is going. In other words, there needs to be more accountability, because it's very hard for a local government authority every year to say, look, sorry, we're going to have to put your rates up again because of the Fire and Emergency Services Levy. That is the excuse that's used every year. So if it's not the Fire and Emergency Services Levy, let's tell the people what it really is. Maybe a couple of Mercedes or something like that.
That's right.
Yeah. So generally speaking, they are my policies: a 3-year rate freeze, Main Street Osborne Park upgrade, faster approvals, the extension, that's the northern extension of Stevenson Avenue, ratepayer question time to be extended, the election of the mayor to be by the people, strong support and more funding for junior and senior sport, the emergency services levy, a fairer deal for the Osborne ward, and increased security patrols to 100%. That's what Adam Spagnolo is all about, and this is why I'm seeking your support for this election for the Osborne ward of the City of Stirling. Days are closing in, Jack. We've got, 9-10 days at this stage when we've recorded this program?
Yes, Adam, and let me say this, that at this time, because of campaigning, I'm seeing or speaking to probably 80 to 100 ratepayers in the Stirling area, principally and obviously in the Hammersley area.
Sure.
And I've been attending council and supporting ratepayers at council for over a year now, at every council meeting and most of the committee meetings during that period of time. Never once have I ever encountered a ratepayer who has said anything negative about the time that you were mayor of this city.
Oh, thank you,
and
Jack.
It's unlike what I hear about the current administration.
Yeah.
And I think that the ratepayers are looking forward to and ready for your return to local government.
Thank you very much, Jack. I appreciate your comments. And look, like yourself, I've heard a lot of adverse comments about the current administration. I've heard a lot of adversity about the current leadership. And I'm hoping that with your efforts, with my efforts, and the efforts of like-minded candidates in other wards, that we will be in a position to cull this draconian culture that's developed up at the City of Stirling, change the leadership of the City of Stirling, and provide the leadership and the culture that the residents of the City of Stirling have been telling me, telling you, and all these other candidates who are just in a position, that's the residents are, who are sick and tired of virtually being disrespected and not treated like ratepayers should be treated. I think the notion here, Jack, is that some of the councillors seem to think that, you know, they're just there just to be councillors. They've got to understand that they are the conduit from the community
Right.
to the council then communicates that feeling to the administration.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not working that way. The administration seems to be in charge, and the councillors, they may as well not go to council meetings.
Yeah. Well, look, without naming names, and I certainly can do that, there are councillors who sit at the table and are just going through the paces.
Ineffective.
They just go through the paces.
They're just there to put their hand up, Jack. Let's be honest.
Yeah. And now it's election time, and some of those councillors all of a sudden have realized that their jobs are at stake,
Yes.
and they're making outlandish claims and publishing false news in social media and any place else they can find an audience.
Okay, well, Jack, time's actually gotten away with us today, but look, this is probably our last program before the election. And I just want to take this opportunity to say that I've really enjoyed working with you in the last 5 or 6 months. I've enjoyed doing these radio shows with you. I've enjoyed your input. I've enjoyed your attendance at the council meetings and coming to this forum and sharing it with me and the people that are watching and the people that are listening. That's very important because a lot of people do want to know what's going on in their community. But Jack, I just want to wish you all the very best of luck in your election as a Hamersley Ward councillor. I say this sincerely. I believe the people of Hamersley will be very privileged and lucky to have someone like you, given your background, given your experience, and given your keenness to actually get out there and just do something about the community, which unfortunately I can't say that about the current representation.
Thank you, appreciate that. And likewise, I know that you have the people at heart in everything that you're doing in your bid for election at the Osborne Ward. And I'm really looking forward to being at that council table with you, Adam.
And so am I.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you that are watching, thank you for those of you that are listening. Both Jack and I look forward to being your representatives, Hamersley Ward for Jack, Osborne Ward for myself. Please, in this election, you only have a few days left. Please vote Jack Garber in the Hamersley Ward.
And Adam Spagnolo in the
Osborne Ward. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on the Local Government People's Program.